The True Nature of Money. Chapter 11. A whole new world opens up. Many people are worried about money, whatever their circumstances may be. Money is such a major focus because we have trained ourselves to misidentify what money is. We believe that money is the source of food, clothing, and shelter, as well as being the source of well-being. We think that we won't have well-being if we don't have money, and we think we will have well-being if we do have money. The whole apple cart is turned upside down when we gain certainty and open intelligence. More and more we find that we don't think about money the way we used to. Money is no longer an obsessive underlying concern that rules our lives. Instead, natural perfection is seen to be the ground, and money is recognized to be just another datum. If you really make a 100% commitment to open intelligence, a world will open up before your eyes that will be like no world you've seen before. This can happen in many different ways, but as we have been talking about money, let's take that as the example. There might be a scenario where you were running out of money and had no evident means of getting more money. Then all of a sudden, through some avenue that you could never have expected, the money that was needed came to you. You didn't really have to try to acquire it in any conventional way. It just became present for you without you having to do anything to get it. When you live in a world made up only of your data about money, you live in a totally limited way. I cannot even convey how limited it is to live in that way. Real freedom comes with the complete resolution of the worries surrounding personal needs. You may have had ideas that getting your food, money, and clothing was something you needed to be worried about, struggle with, and focus on, but again, these are ideas that may not actually be true. Maybe you have had to deal with lack of money your whole life, but then as you start gaining certainty and open intelligence, you might notice that these things that seemed so hard to get, for some reason, are no longer hard to get, but you didn't really do anything. All you did was gain certainty and open intelligence. I'm not suggesting this as some sort of money-making gimmick or as a false hope program. I'm only saying that if you gain certainty and open intelligence, your concerns about money, food, sex, shelter, clothing, work will resolve in the bright light of open intelligence. You will find that you have never needed to worry about any of these things. You will also find that your valiant attempts to try to get all these things into your life are at best of secondary importance. These things are really not the places to invest your time or energy when it comes to understanding the purpose of human life and the potential of your own body and mind. By gaining certainty and open intelligence, you gain trust in the fact that there is a fundamental way of everything being taken care of. All the concerns you had about where basic things would come from are released from being the center of attention. Our generous state of being. Anyone who commits him or herself completely to open intelligence will find that open intelligence is a completely generous state of being. Our true identity is the naturally perfect basic state, and from the recognition of that, it becomes possible to have a vital equanimity that pervades all experience. There is insightfulness, mental and emotional stability, and skillfulness to be able to solve formerly unsolvable problems, whether they are personal or collective. Total reliance on open intelligence can truly bring about a golden age where we are willing to share resources equally, and we are willing to engage democratically and cooperatively with others on a global basis. We also cannot govern or legislate equal sharing of the resources on the planet. This has to come from an innate peace and willingness to share. If someone on the street came up to a passerby and said, "I really need a jacket. Please, can I have yours?" The first reaction might be, "No, don't bother me," because the basic response of many of us may be to avoid situations like this or to cling to what we have. If we hold to this attitude, then we live life as a big no to sharing. But by instinctively recognizing the beneficial nature of open intelligence, it is possible to tap into the big yes within us that allows us to give generously and easily. When we are asked to give, that is a wonderful opportunity to examine how we often contract and don't want to give. If we commit ourselves completely to open intelligence, we will find that open intelligence is a completely generous state of being. We can ask ourselves, what is there to hold on to? We can also come to recognize that giving can occur in many ways, not just through giving money or physical items. When we gain complete certainty in open intelligence, all the concerns we have about where basic things will come from, food, money, shelter, clothing, aren't the center of attention anymore. We find that we don't need any particular thing in order to feel whole. We may have had the idea that we need to worry about our well-being in terms of food, money, and clothing, and that these are things to struggle over, and that we need to spend our time, energy, and attention focused on them in order to get by. However, the fact that we and many others have had this idea does not mean that it is actually true. It might happen somehow that we could eventually get more money than we could ever spend. Nevertheless, we know that banks and businesses have failed before and that they could fail again, just like they're failing now. And that getting and keeping money can never be fully relied upon. By being able to truly take this in, the strongly held beliefs we have had about money become less and less of interest to us. When we rely on short moments of open intelligence, repeated many times, it allows us to loosen our involvement in trying to control all these data. Have you ever built a house of cards? The cards are placed carefully one on top of the other, but with a single breath they could all come tumbling down. To live in a house of cards is a very precarious and stressful way to live. It is much better to commit to and rely on short moments of open intelligence and discover the beneficial intelligence of that. That will open up all kinds of new possibilities for making certain that we have a truly wonderful and abundant life. Money, food, relationships, and sex. When we live our life based on data, then we often seek identity in money, property, and prestige. With money, property, and prestige, the more we get, the more we want. It's a bottomless pit of persistent seeking for more. We often accumulate these things because we are looking for other people to acknowledge us so that we can feel like we are somebody. The hoping for money, worrying about where to get more money, hoping that the money you have won't disappear or be taken away are often a great focus in life for many, many people. But has all the money you've gotten ever fully satisfied you? If you had all the money in the world, would that be enough? You could be in the position to say, "I have billions of dollars and I can do whatever I want. I can rule over everyone," but how long would that feeling be satisfying? Would even such tremendous riches bring peace to a rambling mind that's constantly dodging from one thought to the other? If you love food, maybe sometimes you can't get enough of it and you just eat and eat. Over a lifetime, that could end up being a mountain of food. But has any part of that mountain of food ever been fully satisfying? You have probably drunk lakes of beverages, but has all that drinking ever fully quenched your thirst? Sex is another area of life in which people get very caught up. Say you had all the greatest kinds of sex in the world with gorgeous partners who were doing everything the way you wanted it. Would that really be as great as you've made it out to be in your own mind? And would you ever be totally satisfied? Let's say you had everything you wanted in relationships, work, money, recreational activities, or in the world political situation. Is that going to ensure your well-being and make your life better and better over time? No. None of those things can offer you total well-being because your well-being isn't in any of those things. Only your true nature can offer you well-being and total benefit that are present no matter what happens. Once we know that we have within us the power to have complete well-being at all times, it's like finding the most precious gem that exists. When we find this most precious gem, we treasure and acknowledge it in every way and at every opportunity we can. When we discover this gem within ourselves, the benefits cannot be matched by anything else that life has to offer. True well-being. Do we live our lives in a way that we feel protected by how much money we have in our bank account? If so, we might think, I've worked hard, I've put all this money away, I have good investments, my money will be there for a rainy day, and this is what will sustain me. Well, with the financial crisis and the collapse of so many banks and financial institutions, that rainy day has actually come, and many people have found that the money they thought would be there for them isn't there at all. They thought they were living in a land of plenty, but that supposed land of plenty was a split second away from being a land of recession and hardship. It's so important to get real about what's going on. We can't count on our data because they will never bring us complete happiness and well-being. We also know we cannot count on our physical body, and we knew that from the moment we opened our eyes for the first time and took our first wailing breath. Yet, even as strong as the fear of something like financial insecurity might be, the fear would vanish naturally without a trace if it were left simply as it is, without elaborating on the story that is spun out after the fear appears. But what happens instead is that when the fear arises, usually a story based on that fear arises as well. For example, fear of financial insecurity appears, and all of a sudden there is an immediate connecting of the dots with all the aspects of the story, the doubt about oneself and one's abilities, the lack of a job, the lack of money, the idea that we will suffer from this issue forever, and so on. When the fear comes up, there really isn't anything to be said about it. One could say something about it, but that is not the optimal solution. It is futile to believe in these stories. To keep seeking well-being in our stories and to go through decades of life seeking it and never finding it and continuing to seek for it, that's exhausting. Why are anxiety, confusion, and depression so epidemic? Looking in the wrong place for well-being, that's why. What is missed in all this looking for well-being is the complete mental and emotional stability that is right here, right now. Solution to all problems. It's very likely that for many of us the focus has been on acquiring the things we need in order to have a certain kind of life. In other words, we feel that we need to work hard to make money to provide for our wants and needs, and we spend quite a lot of time being concerned about money and trying to earn money to meet those needs. We are worried about whether we are going to have the amount of money we think we need in order to feel secure. Even if someone has a large amount of money at their disposal and they don't need to work, there will still be concerns. Once we get so focused on these money concerns, money seems to be completely fundamental to our existence, and it's really hard to see it any other way. It creates a sort of blindness in us. Some people are constantly looking for money, hoping for more money, worrying about where they are going to get the next load of money, hoping that the money they've won't disappear or be taken away. It may sound harsh to say so, but this is like what a drug addict does. A drug addict is always on the lookout for their next fix. They're worried that the drugs they have won't hold them long enough, and they're wondering where they can find the next connection to get more drugs. I know people who have millions of dollars who are still worried about their money. They feel they don't have enough, or they're not going to be able to hold on to what they do have. If they have children, they are worried that their children will not be able to deal with all the money that they will eventually inherit. If someone has that much money, taking care of it may end up being a great concern. So, if you've ever thought, "Oh, it would be great if I were a millionaire," know that there would still be data about money regardless of how much you had. However, most people don't have the being a millionaire problem. For them, the problem is at the other end of the scale, the 0 millions problem, meaning that they have very little money at all. They are worried about how to get food to eat, gas for the car, new shoes for the children, and the health care that they need but can't afford. However, thinking that you are a millionaire or thinking that you are a 0 millionaire are just flip sides of the same extreme. Your real identity is not found in either one of those descriptions. Through holding to open intelligence, you open up to a whole new way of life. It is an incredible adventure when all of your experience, waking, dreaming, sleeping, being born, living, dying, abundance, or lack, is attuned to your peaceful nature. That's where you're going to find the solutions to your personal problems, money problems, and the world's problems. A spending log. One of the ways to get familiar with the way money really works is to keep a spending log. A spending log just shows you how you like to spend money. You keep track every day of the money you spend in different categories: personal things, business expenses, food, housing, entertainment, clothing, etc. At the end of the month, you add up the expenses in each of these categories, and you see where you like to spend your money. People like to spend their money on different things. There doesn't need to be any one way to handle money. Keeping a spending log is a good way to develop an excellent relationship with money. There are no limits on money, but unless one realizes that money doesn't have an independent nature, the point of view surrounding money will be limiting and restrictive. If you're very thrifty, or you're constantly spending more than you have, or you're somewhere in between, at some point it would be beneficial for you to rely on open intelligence in relation to the data about money and all the stirrings it brings up. Money can bring up significant emotional disturbances, and when we're relying on open intelligence, we start to notice that. We ask ourselves, "Wow, I have these emotional reactions to money. What's that about?" We recognize the meaning and significance that we've given to money. To be able to recognize this comes from profound insight, and that profound insight can only come about through relying on open intelligence. When we see that we've had inappropriate reactivity to something that has no independent nature, like money, then we can just relax. It doesn't mean that we stop working at our jobs, keeping track of our investments, or that we disregard the fact that we need to eat each day. It just means that no matter what our money lifestyle is, we are paying attention in a very relaxed way. Most people feel that money issues can make them or break them. In coming to completely rely on open intelligence with the powerful data of money, we'll find that not only is this particular data resolved in pervasive open intelligence, but many other powerful data are automatically resolved as well. The investment with no downside. When you find your peaceful nature in yourself, that experience can't be matched by anything in life. That's the greatest treasure you will ever find in life. There isn't anything greater. You could have all the money on earth, all the finest foods, or whatever else you're looking for in the world, but it can't even come close to your peaceful nature. Your peaceful nature will take you all the way. When you're on your deathbed, your peaceful nature is the only thing that can sustain you. To go to your deathbed with the experience of peace is to be able to rest in peace and to die in peace. That peace is free of all the notions about everything. By relying on open intelligence, you make the best investment you can make. You make an investment with no downside and only an upside. You know that you've found what really works. When you see that all those things that you used to rely on are collapsing all around you, and you still feel strong, peaceful, happy, and you want to reach out and help someone else, even though the world is falling apart, that's when you know that your peaceful nature is becoming more evident. Anything can happen. Banks could fail, and you could lose all your money. The world economic markets could crash, or the real estate markets could collapse. People think, oh, sure, that may have happened before, but it could never happen now. Yet, banks and financial institutions that people thought were untouchable have gone bankrupt. People lost millions and millions of dollars as the stock market plummeted and the financial markets of the world collapsed. As we never know what's going to happen, we want to prepare ourselves with what can endure any experience. None of this financial unreliability is going to go away. We might as well breathe a sigh of relief and relax and get to know ourselves as we really are and discover the best means possible to deal with the circumstances that we will be facing. Now, when a river flows, sometimes it rushes down swiftly, other times it flows over rapids, and later in its journey it may flow easily and gently without any obstacles. But no matter what happens, the river keeps flowing. I could take as an example the Ganges River, which flows out of the Himalayas in India. It flows out of a glacier high in the mountains, goes over waterfalls and through rapids, and then eventually flows down to the plains. People are putting everything in the river along the way: trash, waste, filth, dead animals, and the river just keeps flowing, no matter what's in it or what obstacles stand in the way. In a similar way, simply let all the circumstances in life do what they do. Our lives flow along in a natural way, whatever the obstacles are, and all the while we remain grounded completely in the natural intelligence and peaceful nature that are at the basis of everything. Whatever these situations are, there is nothing to be afraid of and nothing to hide out from. Why be afraid of what life will bring you? You're already rock solid. Rely on that which will carry you through any crisis. Real transformation of the world. The world's economy has suffered enormous setbacks, and people are trying to scramble around using all the old ways of structuring an economy to get it back up on its feet again. New ways of structuring the capital markets will arise, and these new ways probably won't come from the people who created the old ways of structuring the economy. The people of the world are finding out how much power they have, and in large part this has come about through the internet and telecommunications, where people now can gather together at the grassroots and create a groundswell for change. As our existing institutions are crumbling, other institutions are arising. These institutions that are arising are fluid and flexible and are based on something entirely new. To say that these institutions are falling apart and there is a new way of understanding the nature of things doesn't mean that one collapses and then another arises. They are simultaneous. It is in the concurrence of the collapse of the old and the appearance of the new that there is a very powerful shift. The greatest innovations in whichever field it maybe will come from giving up the reliance on data and instead relying on open intelligence to find solutions to problems. It is a very exciting time, but the transition will be greatly hindered if we are trying to cling to our old ideas and ways of dealing with problems. Rather than being distracted by all the terrific changes that are occurring in the world, it is important to root ourselves in open intelligence. That is what is going to carry us through to the end. Happy at work. You can be happy in your work by maintaining open intelligence, growing more familiar with open intelligence, and by becoming more confident and certain in that open intelligence. By gaining more and more certainty in the essence of what you are, you will have the energy to truly be of benefit to everyone you come into contact with. Usually people don't go to work with that attitude. Many people just want to do enough to get paid and then go home. But to go to work with the intention of benefiting your employer, fellow employees, and everyone you meet at your job, well, that is a great reason to go to work. By finding the complete comfort and relief within yourself, rather than relying on the descriptions, angry, happy, sad, depressed, overworked, fed up with work, in need of a holiday, you begin to see that there is no division within yourself. It could be that things come up during the workday, such as, if I didn't have to work today, I could go surfing, or if I had enough money already, I wouldn't have to be at this stupid job, or I can't wait to go on holiday. Whether you're thinking holiday or workday, both of these thoughts are equally insubstantial. It would be helpful to really look at what you might be putting yourself through by elaborating on these descriptions of holiday versus workday. Where are those descriptions located actually? There isn't any place where a holiday or a workday exists as a substantial, independent thing that has power to affect your well-being. Do the concepts holiday or workday actually have the power to make you have a good or a bad day? It's only through being trained in these beliefs throughout your life that you have come to believe that these ideas and emotions have a way to affect your well-being. To be beyond emotions does not mean to be emotionless. Rather, in the arising of emotions you choose clarity rather than spinning out into an emotional state. You start to see that all of these events, emotions, thoughts and ideas don't have a power to affect the innate stability of who you are. Giving up the struggle. If you have been intensely competitive in certain areas of your life, such as in work, earning money, accumulating possessions, and in athletic competition, by the power of gaining certainty and open intelligence, you will lose the pleasure you have gotten from dominating and defeating other people. The desire to be better than others will disappear, and it will be replaced by intense enjoyment of whatever you are participating in, whether it is athletics or business or any other area of life. Rather than seeing someone as a competitor, it is possible to approach everyone with the balanced view of complete cooperation. There isn't anything separate from you. Everything and everyone is an appearance within the basic state of open intelligence. When you gain certainty in open intelligence, you are completely grounded in this, with no need to dominate, control, or assume a position of power over other people. There is so much focus in our society on being the best, standing out, being famous, and having more money than other people. Why not find out who you are and then see where it takes you in relation to all these other appearances? When you train yourself in open intelligence, you train in excellent decision-making, you train in wisdom, you train in a balanced view, and you train in seeing everything clearly. No matter whether you are ice skating, playing tennis, or engaging in business, science, or politics, you are doing that with an effortless and balanced view. You may be engaged in intense activity, but that intense activity comes from a place of total open intelligence and ease. The intense activity rests in a fundamental basic state. Look within yourself and say, well, who am I really? And then let the discovery of that stand strong in your direct encounter with everything else that appears. Once you find out who you are and you train yourself in that recognition, all these other appearances really start to make sense, and they are not such a big deal anymore. No matter what happens in life, you have what you need. This is what you really want in life. You want this sky-like balanced view. You do not want a competitive struggle with other people. The only thing that will take you through life easily is to relax and release your mind from the need to be involved in all these erroneous ideas, to release yourself into your basic state, to release yourself into open intelligence, to release yourself into a balanced view. The more you are able to do this, the less you will need to competitively struggle with other people.